Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. Now, as you can see from this screen, I am clearly doing another visual episode. One where I actually have the screen on. Now, you might be wondering, why am I doing this? Well, the title and this fact should probably be evident. I have reached 500 subscribers. Hooray to all of you. Now, I of course gotta give you a thank you to all the people who have subbed to my channel and, all this typical oh yeah, thank you for all of the support you guys have given me. Genuinely, yeah, I do thank you for all that. And of course, I would like to do a whole lot more, but given all just everything, it's just this is the best you're gonna get. I mean, this is what you subbed here for anyways, so what's the problem? So yeah, this is mostly gonna be visual, normal episode, but we'll have some 500 sub-ish things to do. We'll get to those when we get to those. But before we get into that, let's get right into the news. First, we have a very, very sad story, a very tragic story. Suspect in deadly Atlanta area spa shootings charged with 8 counts of murder. Damn it. This happens now on my subscriber special. I have to allow the stupid freaking NBC to get ads on my whatever. The man accused of killing 8 people in 3 shootings in Atlanta area was charged with 8 counts of murder Wednesday. 4 of the counts against the man, Robert Aaron Long, 2021, of Woodstock, are related to the shooting at 2 spas in Atlanta. 4 others are related to shootings at another spa in Cherokee County. Long also faces aggravated assault charge in Cherokee County. The attacks began on 5 p.m. Tuesday when 4 people were killed near Occoquan, Cherokee County, authorities said. Less than an hour later, 4 women were killed in 2 shootings in Atlanta. Now, this shooting, like many other shootings, and many other incidents, have led to a bit of controversy surrounding certain things. The thing is, most people immediately jumped on the idea of this is a hate crime against Asian people, given the fact that Asian hate crimes have risen due to the coronavirus pandemic, and Donald Trump calling it the China virus. So people immediately jump on the bandwagon of oh, the Asians are at the fault. They became the scapegoat. But as they state, sort of, as many people have been trying to toe the line of oh, we don't know what this is. We don't know if this was hate crime motivated in this way. Especially considering there's the person who did the shooting literally said he didn't do it because they were Asian. Or I don't think he said he didn't do it because they were Asian. But he said that the reason why he did it was because these guys were building into his sex addiction. Because they were they were part of a massage parlor. And the stereotype regarding Asian massage parlors, the happy endings and such. Now, here's the thing. They actually can be both. Believe it or not, he could be both anti-Asian and, misogynistic all in one. That is a thing. That's why we have a thing called intersectionality. Well, that's not why we have intersectionality. But, intersectionality explains it. He can hate them for 2 different reasons. And this also led to a bit of another controversy because some people immediately jumped on hating him because of it. Oh, sex addiction isn't a real thing, so this is stupid. When in fact, it is. Let's be real. There are people who are addicted to sex. That's why they have a term for it. It's called nymphomaniac. That's an actual term that they use. But the thing is, of course, this is more than likely a mix of both. He hates Asian women, to be specific. Especially considering they're a huge, sort of incel, sex-deprived target. it's definitely a very likely scenario. I'm not going to say that I know everything and blah, 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 but, like, this is probably the most likely scenario, and, stand in solidarity with Asian American people, and, all that. Okay, so the next story is also kind of tragic, but for a slightly different reason. You see, the Violence Against Women Act was brought up to a vote in the House of Representatives. Turns out, 172 Republicans said, yeah, no. And this came literally a day after the Atlanta spa shootings. Now, this was decried, like, very loudly, but they gave, like, some, praise to 29 Republicans who did decide to vote with it. Like, Brian Fitzpatrick and Don Young, who have sort of, like, always been, like, the moderates in, like, their party, or at least somewhat in the moderate wing of their party, but, like, many people have decried this, but there are also some people who are trying to somehow defend this. Like, apparently people are saying, like, the reason why they oppose this was because, like, I mean, and I shouldn't say who said it, because, they don't necessarily, like, the person who said it isn't part of the end of this video, but the person who said it does happen to be involved with some people in that end of the video. But the thing is, while this happened, this has, like, they said the reason why that they, went against this, even though this was originally passed with, like, bipartisan approval, I think, was that because certain aspects of it, like, the Democrats secretly put in aspects of it that Republicans would not vote against in order to delegitimize Republicans. And it's like, well, what do you mean? Like there's apparently, like, something here that says something about guns, and it's like, well, yeah, but the Republicans shouldn't be voting in favor of that anyways. We're in favor of tighter gun regulations, correct? But the thing is, that's not the scenario. They don't care about that. They want to make Democrats look bad. Like, that's the big thing. Democrat bad, Republican, they don't exist in their mind. That's a non-factor to them. I remember that chart, like a chart Vosh, like, put out. It was like, no matter what scenario, it's like Democrats are automatically the big bad guys. It's like, if Democrats put something good up, why didn't they put something better? Fuck the Democrats. If the Republicans put something up, why didn't the Democrats do it? Fuck the Democrats. If the Republicans do something bad, why didn't the Democrats stop them? Fuck the Democrats. If the Democrats do something bad, of course, fuck the Democrats. Like, think about it. Like, all these things, all these scenarios, like, oh, the Democrats, why didn't they do this, and this? But it's like, you have to, at one point, have to stop pointing the finger at them, because they're not the only bad people in Washington. Need we forget? Republicans exist. Republicans don't care, and they won't even give us, like, the benefit of the doubt, like, oh, we'll support you on gay rights or something. No, they'll just, like, right here, out of 172 Republicans voted to oppose the Violence Against Women Act. Think about that. There is an act that literally says we want to prevent violence against women, and Republicans were like, yeah, we're gonna go no. Think about it. This shows, like, and there's no reforming Washington Republicans. They can be, even if you want to be like, oh, you can't reform Washington Democrats. You think Republicans are going to be any better? Like, there are some people, I'm not going to name names, some of the people they're going to be in the end of the video at one point, just you wait, my friends, that say, like, oh, Republicans will vote to help Medicare for all. No. They won't. But, yeah, that's the end of this story. So now, anyways, let's move on to the next story. The recall of Gavin Newsom is more than likely imminent. Like, let's be fair. Like, okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at this point. Like, oh, let us be free. It doesn't matter. I don't even need this article All you need to do is like pull up like a recall Gavin. Like Gavin Newsom, as many people know, he's being recalled. And like here's their official website, like recall Gavin. I guess I'll put it on their page, I guess. Because like LA Times won't give me that. See, right here, I think they pretty much reached their goal, and he might be facing a recall, that it might be imminent. But that article is going to point out like how recalling him isn't necessarily the best idea. And here's the thing, there haven't been that many gubernatorial recalls in the United States. And like there have only been 3 actually somewhat, like not even 3, like 2, technically 2 successful gubernatorial recalls. You see, gubernatorial recalls, they work like this. I mean, they sound good on paper, and that was the whole point. They were actually really good on paper when they were first being brought up. The fact that California has a recall is actually because of a progressive person who was their governor at one point, Hiram Johnson. I was going to say Ryan Johnson, like from, what did he make? Star Wars? He made a Star Wars thing, I forget. But basically, the idea is, if you do not like your elected official, recall him. If you want, grab a clipboard and recall him now. And don't wait until he's like 6 years later, and then you can't do anything to change his badness. Nip it in the bud right there. Get rid of him right then and there. But the thing is, at this point in time, the only people who can actually do this are people who have a lot of money. So recall efforts are now being pushed. Like, originally they were being pushed by, like, you know, the idea was they would be pushed by, like, small people. Like a Joe Schmo, like you or me. But that doesn't happen. Inevitably, if you have more money, you're the one who's going to be calling the shots in a recall. And almost all of the recalls that have been brought up, you know, one against Jared Polis, one against Lynn Frazier, one against Gray Davis, one of them against Scott Walker, they've usually been done by people who are a lot more wealthy. Even if there's some decent, like, on-the-ground backing. Like, for example, the Scott Walker one was actually, like, pretty much every Democrat in the state, from unions and not, were calling for him to get recalled, like, from the get-go. But this is the thing, like, this recall in specific is getting a bit controversial, because Gavin Newsom, I mean, no one should be, like, he is kind of like a neolib-ish type guy, but Gavin Newsom, like, this recall is being pushed by Republicans, obviously. Like, that is a no-brainer. That are, like, mad that Gavin Newsom instituted the lockdowns and is asking, like, he put mass mandates and such. They're the reasons that this recall is happening. But then, some people who are literally calling this out are being shamed. Like, people, like I remember, like, there was a tweet, like, Bernie made, where he was literally, like, this right-wing recall effort against Gavin Newsom, and then people were shitting on him, and it's like, he's right. What are you talking about? You literally have no clue what you're talking about. It's like one of those, I keep bringing up the people who we're going to get to when we get to, because they're all in my mind. Like, these individuals exist. But anyways, I mean, I guess that's all I have to say on this thing. Like, just because I decry the recall effort of, like, in the sake of, like, it being a Republican power grab, does not mean I'm not going to endorse a candidate in the recall, because, I mean, there could be good people in the recall. Like I said, like I did a video about the 2003 gubernatorial recall against Gray Davis. Yes, a bunch of Republicans were using it as a right-wing power grab, but also Peter Cameo ran in it. So, I mean, in a potential scenario, you got rid of Gray Davis to get Peter Cameo. That's a worthwhile effort for me. Okay, anyways, next story. Moving on to something a bit local. Turns out my Senate race is going to get a bit more interesting. As you can read by the title, she lost by 401 votes in 2020. Now former NC. Damn it. Like, basically, let me show you. Let me see. dang it, I use the freaking things. Like, I use the mobile website all the time. But basically, Cherry Beasley is the former Chief Justice of the NC Supreme Court. She basically made the announcement that she was going to run, and she will be joining 4 other candidates, 1 Republican, and 3 Democrats. Jeff Jackson, Erica Smith, Richard Lee Watkins III, and potentially 1 more, Heath Shuler, former representative from NC-11. Now, this is where things are getting interesting, because this is another potentially flippable seat, and a lot of people are like, oh, what could this mean? This is a potentially flippable seat? Ooh, I smell something interesting. And now I'm seeing that there could potentially be another repeat of 2020. You know, the person who's considered the safe choice, which in this case would ironically be Jeff Jackson, and I say ironic because I'll explain that in a bit, but he will probably get the nod from the Democrats, or at the very least, they'll stay out for him. Jeff Jackson, he's ironically enough, like, Jeff actually tried to run in the last election, but he was forbidden to run by Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer point blank told Jeff Jackson, you are not running. We are putting all of our money into Cal Cunningham. This is a true fact, and Erica Smith ran against Cal Cunningham. But basically, these two got screwed by Cal Cunningham, technically. So, it seemed that there might be some bad blood on both of their hands. You know, Jeff Jackson, he's been running his whole campaign as, like, sort of like, I know I look like Cal Cunningham on distance, but I am not him. I love my wife, I love my family, and I treat everyone with respect and dignity. And Erica Smith, she's trying to do the whole thing she did last election, where she's trying to paint herself as the antithesis of the Democratic establishment. But she is actually, really, honestly, not that different. Like, throughout the entire campaign, Erica Smith, she, like, was trying to paint herself as, like, I'm the progressive, whereas Cal Cunningham is the evil moderate. But, honestly, like, there really was not a single difference in their platform. She didn't make herself known as, like, a big progressive person, and neither did Cal, obviously, because Cal was a moderate. Cal ran as a moderate, was open moderate, and everybody was hunky-dory about that. But Erica Smith tried to actually paint herself as a progressive, but she didn't actually follow through. Like, for example, during the campaign, she pretty much never talked about Medicare for All unless she had to gain from, like, oh, I mentioned Medicare for All a little bit. But in fact, like, she never, like, and this is the kicker, like, Erica Smith has tried to, like, paint me in the same brush as people who are trying to smear her in a different way. But, like, I can point to, like, evidence of me, like, doing this. Hold on, let me just pull up, like, I guess I'll do a Twitter. Why not? Okay. Spoilers for the end of the episode. Medicare. Oh, I screwed up. Whoops. You get behind the scenes efforts from me. You might get some more if I end up getting my Patreon. I mean, I haven't got my Patreon yet because I have not done that. No. Well, yes. This is sort of in my angle, but no. Dang it. There it is. There it is. Here's my thread. Basically, like, Erica Smith, she tried to paint her, like, that's the thing. This is what happened. Okay, cool. I don't support progressives, though. I know this guy's a Pete supporter, but he's actually got some sound choices. And it's right here. Erica Smith was rated the most conservative Democrat by Civitas in Action. In 2017, she has a 100% rating from Grassroots NC, an art conservative group. She supports the death penalty. she masquerades as progressive when her record is anything but. I wouldn't vote for her. And then I pointed out, like, she was on TYT literally promoting the whole affordable healthcare thing, which she was. And then Erica Smith, she literally said, like, in my last race, in this one, I supported Representative Giant Paul's proposal for Medicare for All. The efforts to paint me as a fake progressive are by those who are afraid of what we will accomplish with a diverse progressive working class coalition. I respond, you stated you did not fall solely on the Medicare for All debate, and then later stated you would only support Medicare for All if it were the only option presented. Meanwhile, Trevor Fuller was unabashed in his support for Med for All. Here is you on TYT, keep talking about access to healthcare, while also never name-dropping Medicare for All. In fact, your campaign website did not include the words Medicare for All on your page until voting had already begun in North Carolina, and even then, you just added the button to your equitable healthcare page to take you to a hidden window. So basically, here's what her website was. When you went to her website and you got, like, the platform page, you would get all of this, like, gray text. North Carolina Congress has a duty to our citizens to provide access to healthcare, whether long-term care or assisted living, blah, blah, blah. But then, not until after I actually had cast my ballot, literally right after I had cast my ballot, she had added this green button to her page, improved medical care, health care for all. So technically the words Medicare for All did not actually fall on her website yet. And this block, when you clicked it, it would take you to a separate page where she did talk about Medicare for All. So yeah, I do not support Erica Smith. I am waiting for not Trevor Fuller. I keep thinking Trevor Fuller. Richard Lee Watkins III, who did support Medicare for All in his last run, full through and through, was a brand new Congress endorsed candidate, and I'm basically waiting to see, like, how things play out. Does he still support it? Is he Amar Kampanajaniing us? We'll never know. We'll find out. Okay, anyways, the next story. Our boy Andrew Yang. The boy, I gave this man his career. This is the truth. I am the first ever media pundit to take Andrew Yang seriously. And Andrew Yang is disappointed through and through. Okay, so Andrew Yang lays blame on teachers' union for sluggish pace of school reopenings. Andrew Yang is fed up with New York school closures, and he's not mincing words about it. The leading mayoral candidate, who has a 5-year-old son in Manhattan Public School, took aim at the city's 1,900 union-member United Federation of Teachers for its perceived role in delaying school openings during an interview with Politico this week. I will confess to being a parent. You could confess that on live TV? Of course, I'm just joking, but, like, I will confess to being a parent that has been frustrated about how slow our schools have been to open, and I do believe that the UFT has had a significant reason why our schools have been slow to open, Yang said. He has been among the most vocal Democratic mayoral candidates in expressing displeasure on how the de Blasio administration has handled school closures in the pandemic. His comment may endear him to voters who have been agitated to reopen schools faster, distressed by the academic and emotional toll online learning takes on young children, and the logistical hurdles it poses to working parents. But the remark, made during a 45-minute, wide-ranging interview Sunday, puts him at odds with the largest public sector unions in the city, and one that is presently screening candidates ahead of an expected endorsement next month. The UFT was the leading force in the New York City public schools opening and opening safely, protecting students and staff. Mr. Yang needs to do his homework. Oh boy. This ain't gonna look well for Andrew Yang. I'll tell you that much. Let me see. New York mayoral race. I don't know if any of these search results will lead me to some very bad... I mean, I probably should have went in an incognito tab for this, but I did not, so... Oh well. Andrew Yang, he's currently sort of like the top guy in the race right now. Like, I mean, let's be honest. Like, I mean, we can be completely honest. Andrew Yang is probably the most... Like, as you can see right here, here's the polling of the race. Yang, his Don Quixote presidential ambition race did him well, and he's, I mean, let's be honest. Like, even at first past the post polls, he does pretty well. So, I mean, I'm not sure that he's going to be doing bad in regards to these races. I'm just gonna turn that off for now. Basically, like, I don't know how much this is gonna hurt Yang, really, because I don't really know that much about the New York mayoral race, aside from, like, you know, certain dynamics, like, oh, it's, of course, Yang's have the top dog to beat. Meanwhile, Wiley's trying to be like, oh, I'm the, you know, CPC style progressive, and Stringer's supposed to be like the Warren Dem, and like Sean Donovan's sort of like the moderate guy, and Menchaca and Morales are sort of like of the left wing variety. But like, we'll never know until it actually happens. That's how it always is with things. You never know who's gonna win until they win. Now the next story is coming all the way from Japan. Japanese court rules same-sex marriage ban is unconstitutional. Very interesting thing. A Japanese court ruled for the first time Wednesday that the country's ban on same-sex marriages is unconstitutional. The ruling is a major victory for LGBTQ rights in Japan, though campaigners still face an uphill battle to legalize same-sex marriage. This is one of the plaintiffs in the case who chose to keep her identity a secret. Only because the gender of the person we love is different, we can't get married. We live in the same lives as heterosexuals, have the same troubles, same joys, though our lives are exactly the same. The nation would recognize this. This is clear discrimination from our point of view. Now, this is a good thing, 100%. You know, LGBTQ people, stand up for your rights, get married. Gay marriage is usually the first fight in LGBTQ equality. Because, I mean, well, technically, I guess the first one would be, like, preventing hate crimes, but, like, I mean, marriage is usually the first big one I can think of. Like, I mean, in the United States, gay marriage was, like, the big issue. Like, well, gays get married, blah, blah, blah. But, like, again, this is a good thing if this leads to same-sex marriage being legalized in Japan. Because Japan, believe it or not, despite the fact that they love anime where two girls kiss, look, everybody always gets this. It's when it's hot, they'll accept it. But when it's not hot, they won't accept it. Like, these guys are the same people who will... This country is the same place where these people... like, I mean, this country and its screwed up views on pornography led to a literal debate where people debate on if drawings of children is okay to look at. This is a debate that people have. You've seen it. You've 100% seen it. You probably had a person who said like something about lolies or lollies or whatever they call. It's lolies, obviously, because it's based on the novel Lolita. But basically, this is a weird debate that people have. But for some reason, gay marriage is not a thing in Japan. It's incredibly stupid. Especially considering Japan, they've had a long history of, like, gay marriage. It's always the thing. Like, usually, it's gay marriage is bad, and then it's good, and then it's bad. Or it starts off good, and then somehow they turn it bad. Like, in Japan, gay people have been well known. Many of their top people in, like, feudal Japan literally loved their, like, gay concubines. Same thing with, like, Greece and stuff. And, I mean, Russia was sort of similar. But Russia is, like, the example of, like, good, then bad, then good. Well, I mean, I guess they haven't gotten to the point where it's good again, but, like, basically, like, when it was the Tsar, it was like, oh, gay people bad, yucky, ew. But then Lenin showed up and was like, hey, yo, bros, I think you gay people, I think you deserve some respect. And I think that's good. So then when he took over and then created the USSR, they've effectively had no, like, bad, like, they effectively had no LGBTQ laws, period. Basically making gay rights legal. There were no laws saying that sodomy or something is bad. So they effectively were like, this is good, I guess. So But then Stalin came around and was like, yeah, no. And that's Stalin just being Stalin, taking an idea that people were like, hey, this is a good idea, and then turning it into all about him. But anyways, now that we're off that tangent, let's move on to the big good news. Pramila Jayapal introduced the Medicare for All Act of 2021 alongside more than half of the House Democratic Caucus. The bill is called H.R. 1976. I think it's supposed to be like a reference to H.R. 676, because that was what the Medicare for All bill was originally called. But, you know, she's introduced it, and she's gotten at least 113 co-sponsors, I believe. And she made a list of, like, these are all the people who, like, support it. Like, all of the Congress members right here. They got, like, their typical people, like, most of the people who supported it before are, like, supporting it again. But, of course, you have some people who, for some reason, are absent. Like, I mean, it was made very clear, like, Nancy Pelosi's not here. But, I mean, you know, sort of, like, there's also the, like, then there's here's the, like, endorsements of, like, individual organizations that support it. But, like, there's one funny thing that I think is, like, hilarious on retrospect. I don't know if it was because this just happened or I don't know. Basically, here's what happened. My representative, David Price, he was not on this list. And people made notice. But, like, an hour after this was introduced, he now all of a sudden is a sponsor, and he's listed as, like, a main sponsor. So either he just didn't get the memo that this was being released and they didn't publish his name, or he literally just weaseled his way in right before Pramila Jayapal was able to introduce it in the House of Representatives. And I think it's funny. This was another representative named Donald Norcross. Hold on. Let me check right here. Donald. Nope, not here. So I could say it. Donald Norcross. Literally an hour after Pramila Jayapal tweeted the tweet, that, like, not tweeted the tweet, but, like, made this public knowledge, everybody, like, he made a tweet saying, I support Medicare for All, but then she said, wait, then why aren't you co-sponsoring my bill? So, that's the thing that happened. So, yeah, the bill's introduced, and also some people who, forced to vote people have tried to turn this into a bad thing, so, well, this is a good thing. Okay, so now on to what is one of the things that was supposed to happen in this episode, Q&A. You know, like it says right here, 500 subs, Q&A alongside maybe something else if I'm petty enough. And you know how many questions I got from my 500 subscribers? I got like 2. Okay, so here's the first one. Alex Kawa. What do you plan to do after college? To be honest, I don't even think I'm going to continue it. Because honestly, it just doesn't, not for me, nah. But yeah, that's pretty much it in regards to that question. I had a second question from a YouTube channel that got deleted, like, immediately after. Like, it was posted to, like, my YouTube channel, like, as a comment. But basically, the question was, like, when do you think California will turn blue, not California turn blue, when will California turn red, if any, if ever? And I guess I'll have to agree with their sentiment, like, ever will be kind of a strong one. You have to, at the very least, get, like, a huge, long perspective and, like, oh, pretty bad. Like, I mean, a lot of liberals going to have to move out of California before, you know, it actually turns red again. Or a lot of Republicans are going to have to move to California before it turns red again. So it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. Not the graphics, but, like, the dynamics and demographics are more likely going to be shifting to make, like, something like Texas blue. So we're going to have to wait and see how that happens. Now, as a special thing, I'm going to delete this video right here, because this video has served its purpose. I mean, it actually didn't even serve its purpose, because it didn't get anybody to post a comment except for that deleted one. Okay, so dang it, now I had to get that. Okay, so here's I'm going to do a brief look over of this. to see how things are playing out here. And it just looks like things are playing out interestingly here. The Louisiana. You see, currently I'm endorsing Gary Chambers. It looks like he might not be making it to the runoff, and maybe Troy Carter, Karen Carter Peterson runoff. And that's slightly disappointing. But in regards to this one, Julia Letlow looks like she's going to be taking this one 100%. And Vinny Mendoza got 236 votes. Good on him. Okay, so anyways, now let's move on to the main topic. Ranking my enemies. Because I'm an infotainment channel, so I have to inform and entertain. Now, as you can see, I have made quite the few enemies, I guess you could say. I mean, some of these guys are kind of a stretch. I don't even know. I mean, I don't even think you'll know half of these people. So, I mean, if you're not following me on Twitter at Pluribus Unum YT, you'll get some more context from these guys. But for the most part, and I also had to sort of like try to divvy up like what considers an enemy, like an adversary. For example, I could have included a lot of people, but I've chosen not to include certain people because it's like these guys at the very least are like public figures, or at least they're supposed to be. You know, everybody on this list would probably be considered a public figure. You know, people who've run for office, who have attempted to run for office, who've run presidential campaigns, or like anything of the sort, built an online presence of like being a thing. So I think these guys would probably be worth ranking on a list because I'm pretty petty. This is just an this isn't even like meant to be like a super serious video or anything. Like, I mean, I'm surprised. I guarantee you that one of these people are gonna be like, they make a list of blah blah blah, and it's like, this is like a shitpost video, really. So yeah, let's begin. Starting off with the OG, Real Progressives. Real Progressives? And I guess I should explain some of these people because you don't know necessarily all their stories. Real Progressives, I actually tried to work for them for a little bit, and things didn't necessarily pan out the way I wanted to. I wrote an article for them, they edited my article, and then used the edited words of my article to become like the tagline of the episode, of the article. But, you know, they didn't, like, I mean, and this isn't even like all of them, obviously. I don't know anything about Savage Joy, I don't know anything about, certain people that I would associate with. But there's some people who's like, okay, I guess I'll name drop Steve Grunban, the guy who's in charge of Real Progressives. He's probably the big, not good one. But honestly, I'll put them in C, really. Because, like, I mean, I guess you can make the argument, like, oh, they have enough good people to, like, you know, make up for, like, Steve's badness, but, like, Steve's still Steve. Okay, so I guess now we'll do Shauna Burley. For those who don't know who Shauna Burley is an individual who is a huge Toast stan, and she got in my crosshairs because she retweets Jack Posobiec and then immediately goes, "Why are people calling me a fascist?" And also she follows the Nazi comic artist Stone Toss. Literal, and I don't mean like Nazi, I'm like, oh, they're literally Hitler. No, I mean like they post comments about literally the Jews running the world. So, and as I'm looking at this, I immediately see that there's a person missing, so I guess I'm gonna have to place them here on the video live. We'll get to him when we get to him. Should have waited instead of jumping into while I was in the middle of Shauna. But Shauna, again, I guess I'll talk about her for a bit. Not a bit, but you know what I mean. No, you don't know what I mean because you can't read my mind. Shauna, honestly, D. Because she doesn't, like, again, she retweets little fascists, so it's like, and it's like, how can anybody take this woman seriously? Really, I don't get it. I really do not get it. Like, and she was literally like, and there are people who follow her, and it's literally just like dumb people, like literally brain dead people. And she was literally like, no, you know what? I'm gonna put her in E, because E is worse, because E is like not even on the U.S. grade scale. So, like, she didn't even provide like an actual argument. Like, her argument was literally like, oh, because I retweeted Jack Posobiec, I'm a fascist now? And it's like, yes. Okay, so, next one we're gonna do is Don J. Grenman. Many of you probably don't even know my drama with Don J. Grenman, because me and him got into a tizzy on the independent political report. I'm so dumb. Why I even try to pretend it wasn't the independent political report? But I'm gonna put him in F, because this guy is quite an interesting character. Like, the reason why is because he was like, can you provide me any evidence of climate change being real? And I'm just like, look at the science. And he's like, the scientists that are bought by the corporate media. And this guy's been known for doing some crazy, stupid crap. Like, he also said things like, there's no such thing as transgender, and that was when he was running for, like, office. And, like, what was another thing that he did? He also said, like, he literally said, like, he was one of the guys who was in charge of the Straight Pride Parade, and he was like, and he literally said that they were a totally peaceful racist group, so I was like, you don't say that part out loud, buddy. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about him, because he's lame. Okay, let's see. Let's do Fiorella Isabel next, because honestly, I put her in E as well, because let's be honest, Fiorella, like, me and her, we haven't talked that much. But what she did do is she literally jumped on the Shauna Burley train and was like, liking her post about, like, me calling Shauna a fascist, which is a true statement, because she retweeted Jack Posobiec, so, and follows Stone Toss. So it's like, Fiorella, step up a game, girl. No, wait, hold on, I guess I should put her in D, because she's, hold on, I'll do it like this. Okay, so I'll do D for real progressives, because they have enough, I guess, decent people. Steve drags them down. That makes no sense. I put them down, even though... I'll just put them both in C. You know, Fiorella, she's a bigger threat, but not really part of the Pluribus Unum saga. Because, you know, I'm an entertainer. Okay, let's see. Let's do this guy next. Or girl, I don't know who they are. I don't even know how to pronounce the name. But it's a long name, like, it starts with an A, and then their last name begins with a K, I think. Basically, they're a huge Tulsan. They also jumped on the Shauna Burley train. It's simple enough. But really, no one knows about them, so I'm going to put them in E. Lame. Like, this person down here, they literally, like, gave me, like, this stupid chart about, like, Modi is center-left on economics, and I'm like, no, he's not. They're like, yes, he is. I'm like, no, he's not. He promotes neoliberal economics. That is not center-left on economics. And he's like, and then I point out, like, the left-wing parties in all of India have, like, protests against his, like, economic policies. And he's like, no, center-left, not left. And it's like, what do you think the center-left means? Do you think the center-left is, like, the center? Center-left is part of the left. You're stupid? It's lame. Okay, let's see. Who's next? Who's next on the hate train? I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do, this is hard. This would be so much easier if all of them were not on this. Like this is hard when they're on. I don't have all of them named because some of the pictures didn't pull up, and then I thought about them later. Doesn't matter, anyways. It's all just a stupid shit post, really. Damn, I'm trying to get to there. There she is. Tamara Zwinak. None of you know who this girl is. She ran as a Green Party candidate in North Carolina District 11, and she now she gets put in B because she was able to do something that literally everybody else here was not able to do. She nearly got my voice silenced. Like, she nearly ended a Pluribus Unum. Now, I technically can't confirm this, but no, I can pull it up. No, I'm not going to pull it up. This is dumb. Tamara Zwinak, I got into a controversy with her. Where'd she go? You can't hide from me forever. But basically, I wanted to get in contact with her because she was a Joe Biden supporter who was going to be voting for, she was going to be voting for Joe Biden. So I was confused, obviously. So then I went to ask her, point blank, why are you endorsing Joe Biden? If you are supposed to be a person who is a part of the Green Party, why are you endorsing Joe Biden? Shouldn't you be endorsing your party's candidate? And she said well, she dodged the question and went on a tirade we need to support the person who's the best to beat Donald Trump. But then it's okay, but I'm not really seeing anything in your platform to really, or she didn't even have a website or a platform really. She was running her campaign purely on Twitter, and it was I asked her but then why didn't you run as a Democrat then? If you seem just a Democrat, you don't seem a eco-socialist or anything, so why didn't you run as a Democrat? She then ignored my question again, and then went on this tirade about I don't have to be a registered member of the political party in order to, join up with them, and then was trying to tell this whole spiel about voting registration. And she was I'm well, I don't care, but I asking the question, why are you running as a Green? She ignored again, and then went on a spiel, sent me a big bunch of texts talking about oh, you don't need to be a registered member of a party in order to join up with them. You don't need to be a pays-doing member of the party. All you need to do is go to the election organization and talk about I want to be a Green Party candidate, and they'll let you be a Green Party candidate. And it's I do not care. Please tell me why you are running as a Green Party candidate. I don't care about the spiel about voting registration or the history of the Green Party or anything like that. I'm talking about the history of the Green Party. Tell me why you are running as a Green. She then responded, well, I guess I can't really tell you anything about this more on Twitter. Peace. And then blocked me. And then, not that long afterwards, my Twitter account was reported. And I was what? And then I immediately called a claim. I don't remember what they said I was reported for. They said something. They didn't even say anything. They were my account was locked or reported or something. And I'm what? And it's oh, never mind. So basically, that's what happened. I can't confirm it was her, but it's more than likely her. The next person here I'm going to put is William Pounds. William Pounds is interesting because, well, actually, no, he's not interesting. He's honestly believe it or not, even though he's supposed to be the main host of his show, he's sort of the second banana, so no, D, B, or C. I'm gonna put him. Nah, here's what I should do. I should put him in C, Yeah, real progressives should probably be in D, because it's really only Steve that I have a slight issue with. And then he is in C with her. So, yeah. Okay, so the next person is Grumpy Bertie Sanders. Now, believe it or not, very early on in my career, I was actually technically like I was mutual with Grumpy Bertie Sanders. That was really weird because me and Grumpy immediately had like problems because Grumpy was definitely more of the ideologue, I thought, but it turns out he was more of the idiot log. And so yeah, generally gonna put him in D because not that notable really. Okay, so the next person is I'm gonna do Misty now. Not Misty. Damn it! I forgot one more. The one more of the boys. Don't place. How can I forget the big boy? The big boy himself. That's not what I meant to do. We'll do him later. But I'm just saying, let's put the two boys together, our friends. But anyways, back to Misty. Misty, I've talked to her like once. Like, she's only directly interacted with me like one time. So, not that notable. I'm gonna put her in C. The interaction was lame. But, like, again, nothing too notable. Now, on to the guy himself, Nico House. I just put him in B just because, like, just to put him there. But then I'm thinking, like, yeah, B's probably the most notable. I have not really interacted with Nico House that much. I've only interacted with him, like, quite a few, like, very few times. But those few times were pretty notable. I will say that. So that's definitely a notable one. Okay, so now on to, I guess I'll do Slow News Day now because Slow News Day is meh. Me and Slow again very early on. Me and him interacted quite a bit. He was very we never got along really. Let's just say that. You could look up all of these tweets. I didn't really delete any tweets, so all of my interactions with him are fully up and ready to go. So he was definitely like, and I definitely didn't like give him like me and him like have a spirited debate. Like it became like, I mean, when I realized I wasn't gonna get a serious like actual debate from him, it became pretty obvious, so I just started trolling him, just nonstop, just like, well, if you're not gonna give me serious conversation, then, well. And I mean, it made sense, considering the first thing I ever saw of him, he was literally saying, like, chemtrails are real, so. And then I literally called him out on it, and he's like, that's the least surprising thing I've ever heard you say. And it's like, cool. Yeah, I do happen to not believe in dumb conspiracies. And then there's another one where it's like, what was another interaction I had with him where he was like, when I said, like, I'm your worst nightmare, and then he's like, you're not my ex-wife, and I said, then I just said something, and he's like, no, on second thought, maybe you are, because my ex-wife was a little bitch, too, and I'm like, But yeah, I guess technically since he was, like, only because he's notable enough to, like, that he made this whole, like, not even that he made it, but, like, they, like, became, like, one of the figureheads of this, like, little clique. He just puts him in B, really. That's pretty much all I gotta say about him, really. Okay, so the next one I should talk about is Marie Fonseca. She literally defended Capitol Hill rioters. So that's definitely a thing she did. But again, all my interactions with her have been like pretty like on those levels. like, I would say something completely reasonable, like, hey, maybe don't cancel the squad because, you know, they're not doing, like, they're not the biggest bad thing in the world that you keep making them out to be. And then it's like, well, then who do we have as our allies? None? And then she's like, yes, now you're getting it. And it's like, what? And even more so, like, she, at least to my recent knowledge, she still sort of, like, denies, like, how bad AOC had it during the Capitol Hill riots. And that was kind of like the impetus of one of these other fellows right here. Wink, wink. We'll get to that when we get to that. But Marie, like, I put her in A because she was the only person to get me so mad that I was literally just like, I want to debate her now. Like, all of these other people, I mean, technically I couldn't debate any of these people, but Marie's the only one that was legitimately, like, so mad that I was just like, you know what, screw it. I will debate right now. Like, and other people can attest to it if they wanted to. But yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say on her. Pretty lame on that regard. So, I guess I should do this one before I get to the big three. David Hahn. Now, many people don't know who this is. I doubt that any of you know who this man is. But David Hahn is very notable in one way. And I think it's interesting enough that you should know. David Hahn is like this San Francisco Green guy who's like, oh, he works for the San Francisco Green Party, and it's like big blah blah and all that jazz, and it's like, what? But basically, he, like, I don't know what was how the conversation began, but like, I didn't want to include him originally, but then I decided to include him because this will put all the rest to shame. He's in between S and A because my conversations with this man made me, no joke, legitimately think of ending it all. And you might say, what do you mean by that? Well, take them however you see fit. Because no matter what you interpret that to mean in your head, the answer is more than likely yes. Because my conversations with him were just so idiotic, so dumb, so legitimately like, what? That it's literally like, what am I doing? What am I literally doing? Like, it was like 3 fucking a.m. And like, my conversation with him was literally like going in not even a circle. It was literally just like ping pong. I would say a very slight thing. I would say a thing that was favorable to AOC and the squad. Like, yeah, but who else are they going to support? And then he'll respond with, what's the difference between endorsing someone and then supporting them? It's like, I don't know. I don't care. I don't care. It's 3 a.m. If you're not going to provide me any actual substantive conversation, please kindly delete your Twitter account and leave. Literally, I was so mad. I was going to snap. Literally, that was the only conversation I ever had where I was legitimately like, I'm going to snap right now. I'm legitimately going to snap at this man. And that puts the rest of these guys to shame, really. All these other guys, they got nothing on this guy. These guys ain't got nothing. Okay, so anyways, let's move on to the OG, John Munitz. I'll be honest, the John Munitz saga, it stung at first, but he's honestly kind of disappeared, so D. Or maybe C. Put him in between C and D. CD. CD's nuts. Haha. High five. Okay, so, now let's talk about, which one is it? Dang it. I'm trying to get to the thingy. Chris Richards, the eclectic radical. Now, this, I'm gonna put him. Now, this is the thing. This guy goes beyond all the levels of like self-irony, self-idiocy, self-anythinging. No, you know what? No, hold on. I'm gonna have to do this. I'm gonna have to put John Munis here. And then because eclectic radical, Chris Richards, he legitimately puts all of the rest of these people to shame in one regard. Because let me explain all the conversation. You see, he got mad at me because I called out his buddy Marie for supporting the Capitol Hill riots, then insulted me, and then claimed that I was just as bad as Steve Poikonen over here, and then blocked me, and then went to Marie, who consistently retweets Steve Poikonen. Like, she frequently retweets Steve Poikonen, even though he hates Steve Poikonen. And he's like, I hate the Jimmy Dore type crowd. And now he's in that crowd. Like, he's literally part of that crowd now. He hates them so much that he's in that crowd, literally in that crowd. And even, I guarantee you Steve Poikonen 100% appreciates that irony. I guarantee you if he sees this video, he's gonna be like, really? It's fucking stupid. And that puts him in, like, F tier, really. Because he, like, went back on literally all of his principles, all of his supposed principles that he stood for. Like, hatred of this guy. You know, like, being super left and all that jazz. That kind of crap. And I put him lower than John Munis, even though John Munis has been literally nothing. But, like, the thing is, even though he also hates John Munis, too. Like, he has less credibility than John Munis because John Munis, he unblocked me. Meanwhile, Chris has continued to block me. He literally is giving John Munis more credit than he has, especially considering all this other jazz of, like, you know, I like Marie so much, she's my best friend, and I hate Steve Poikonen, but they're literally, like, part of the same crowd, and it's like, boy, I normally don't say this, but it's literally just like, get cucked, dude. Like, literally get cucked, man. That's literally, that's a big cucking himself. That's just hilarious. And I saved the best for last, our good old boy, Chad Wilson. The good old Chad Wilson. The bro. The Jessan, the independent Green Party leader, the accused Nazi, the guy who literally committed Holocaust denial alongside his buddy William here. I think if you know anything about me, there's really only one question. I'm gonna have to put him in S tier, man. S tier, my boys. Because Chad, I'm gonna have to say this about Chad Wilson. That I can say more than almost anybody else here. When, like, Chad don't run away from a fight. I have to say that. That's one thing. The rest of these guys, they run away from fights. Chad Wilson, every single time, at one point, me and him will be tussling in the Twitters, and he don't run away. He doesn't go, I will block you, which Chris also did, which is funny. Let me give another Chris story. That's funny. Literally, during, like, many conversations, he literally, like, threw temper tantrums like a baby. Literally a baby. And I don't mean, like, oh, and like a funny joke. I mean, literally a baby. Like, I'm so tempted to block you guys right now. And it's like, that's literally being an infant. And he threw, like, the big blocking tirade against me. Like, he threw, like, a huge temper tantrum. Like, That's all I can describe it as, a temper tantrum. That is literally the only word I can use to describe it. It was an unhinged mental breakdown that literally nobody ever came to his defense for. Almost everybody in the conversation, even if they were supposedly agreed with Chris on the supposed actual merits of the conversation, which is stupid because I started the thread, I know what the conversation's about. Chris, don't you attempt to try and change it. He literally went on this huge tirade about no, I'm doing this so we can stop the next Patriot Act and blah, blah, blah. And it's nobody talked about that. This is literally me calling out someone for praising the Capitol Hill riots, which is a true fact. But he's he blocks me, tries to change the conversation of the, conversation, and then people will literally rush in and be like, yo, Chris, I don't know who this troll you were speaking of is, but I think these concerns do need to be raised about Marie. And it's oh, when he says troll, he's literally talking about me calling out Marie. And they're what? But, what? No, that's not possible, right? And it's yes, that is 100% what he means. But anyways, back to Chad. That's stark contrast to Chad. I'll give that. Chris blocks, makes conversation, changes the conversation completely, runs and cries like a baby. Chad. Oh my god, I can literally make that into a meme. Chad, and Virgin Chris. It's perfect. That is literally perfect. If I'm petty enough again, I'll make that into a meme. So yeah, this is the tier list of the Pluribus Unum enemies. The Nixon enemy list of the intellectuals. Now again, this video really should not be taken seriously. This is just a shit post for me and my 500 subs to be that's pretty funny. This is a funny lols. If you want actual serious political conversation, might be in the next episode, but not this one. This one is, celebration. We got the 500 subs, here's to the 500 next. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when a future video of mine comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can go to my website, follow me on Twitter, join my Discord, or check my articles on the Independent Political Report.